changes your emotional experience. Just the color of something and changing quickly can alter how you feel. It can make something very energetic if the lights change quickly. If the lights are rising slowly, it can be very calming. Lighting has a huge storytelling ability.
We have one lighting desk which operates more what we would call the conventional lighting, and one lighting desk which operates our moving lights. In terms of individual light sources, it would be well in excess of 1,000.
The importance of lighting in The Lion King is never more evident than in the show's opening sequence, Circle of Life.
We start off with a sort of a misty, rather darker background. We fill the stage with smoke to create that early morning effect. And then in sequence, the clouds lift, and as they're lifting, the sun is rising, and with that, the lighting adapts.
The audience actually sees these battens with the silk rising, and the sheer movement makes it shimmer. So we go, oh my God, it's like the sun over the desert. That is the absolute essence of the power of theater, which is that you animate an inanimate object and you bring life into it.
When you take the scenery and the lighting and the costumes and you put them all together in the circle of life, all those elements can be all pulled apart and thought about, but it's the impression they all make together.
In addition to the innovative theatrical techniques that have made The Lion King such a success, it's the realisation on stage of the characters that people know and love from the film that ensures that this universal story continues to connect with people around the world.
He is a diverse character. That's what Simba is. He's just a restless wanderer. He's just wandering around, jumping around, trying to find a better place, because he's traveling through the jungle with Timon and Pumbaa. So he's putting on this front of, you know, I'm energetic, I'm young, I'm just going to have fun with you guys. But at the same time, he's got a lot of emotional baggage.
It's not until Simba's able to open himself to what his father taught him all those years ago that he's able to complete his journey into manhood and into becoming the king he's meant to be.
When Nala shows up in the picture, that's when he has to really face the fact that, you know, things happened in his past that he really, really needs to confront.
I like to describe Nala as the king. She is the king. She has to take over the role of king because Scar can't do it.
She sees what happens to all of the Pride Lands and what it's going to be under the dictatorship of Scar. At that moment, at 10 years old, she needs to grow up and she needs to be the person that's going to speak up for her people.
She thinks Simba is dead, and then Scar decides that she should be his queen, and so she feels she must flee and leave.
Nothing she's doing is negative, especially at the end of Shadowlands. She's saying the words Giza Buyaba, which means I will return.
Nala is a strong woman, and she's the one who comes in with the power and the strength and the heart and conviction to take care of her people.
Mufasa's quite intricate in a way that he's father, he's king, he's a husband, and how he balances all of that into this one character.
Mufasa is very important to me because of what he represents. He's a good leader who is cut down in his prime, and that's something we're all afraid of, that we'll have good leaders who won't be there to guide us.
He is a nurturer, a caring man, he is a teacher, and he is the essence of a king.
He rules with quite a tender heart, really, even though he's got this demeanour of being very powerful and very aggressive at times. He's into the whole tradition, the ancestry thing, you know, the whole circle of life. He's an extremely spiritual character.
Scar is the brother of Mufasa, the younger brother of Mufasa. He's second in line to the throne, and actually can't understand why he's not king. When Simba's born, he suddenly becomes third in line to the throne, and this really upsets him.
It builds such resentment in how he feels towards his brother that he becomes the opposite of what his brother is. He takes all of this energy and uses it in bad ways.
He plots his way to see how he can become king. Now, of course, the best way for the third in line to become first in line is to get rid of the first and second. Scar's character, I mean, I suppose it's the greed and ambition and the inability to join the circle of life.
The first character that we meet in the show is Rafiki, and the first sound you hear is this cry across the savannah announcing that the king is born.
When I compare the characters between the film and the stage show, Rafiki is the one who emerges most because we get so much more time with Rafiki.
There was always this problem, really, because the first song in The Lion King is The Circle of Life, and in the movie, it's a female voice. So this made sense because now we had Rafiki being the person who would sing that. She really became an important person in expanding and bringing something major to this piece that's not in the animated cartoon. He's a very funny character, but he does not have the spirituality that the Rafiki now has.
She is, in South African terms, what's called a sangoma. And a sangoma is able to interpret things from the past, and is able to see the future, and is able to heal, and is able to guide spiritually for the community.
In the community, they're the ones who help people to realize that even when someone died in the family, you don't forget about the person. You always remember that person. You can ask things, and we believe that they will help us back.
I love Rafiki because she has a crazy wisdom. We don't always understand why she's telling us what she's telling us, but it does add up.
She helps Simba realize his role in the Pride Rock.
She's the one that really opens his eyes as to what he needs to do to become the man he's meant to be.
By having South African actresses play Rafiki, we get a much richer cultural view of the African element coming into the show, and we get a sense of their culture, and we hear their language.
Not only was a great role created for a woman, but a woman that's both spiritual, soulful, and humorous.
She needs to be there, and she needs to be this spiritual woman. This Sangoma, the real Sangoma.
Well, he's friend and mentor to the king and to Simba, and he was there for Mufasa when he was a kid, and has sort of remained his trusted friend throughout.
He's the one who's able to give him advice on his son and on how to handle situations that no one else can do.
And then he's subsequently looking after Simba and trying to pass on the whatever he can pass on to Simba.
He can make the king laugh, he can, give the king great insight, and yet he's this tiny little bird.
I think he has ideas above his station, but he's, he wants to be the advisor, but he's sort of thrown into the role of childminder a little bit.
Timon and Pumbaa, they just love each other. They met a couple of misfits and just liked each other immediately.
Timon's a bit of an opportunist. He got a double whammy. He not only befriended a big warthog, who was quite good and protective, he befriended a lion.
I think that Timon and Pumbaa come into Simba's life at the perfect moment. He's lost his father, he's lost his home, and he's run and run and run until he's exhausted.
Pumbaa's so loyal to his friends. Loyalty is very important to him, and I think that's the only time that he ever does get a little bit aggressive in defense of his friends.
Timon thinks he's the brightest guy in the jungle, but in fact he wouldn't be much good on his own. It's Pumbaa and Simba that have helped him to become the character he is in Lion King.
They've turned their backs on their responsibilities. They're just out for themselves. And in watching Simba, they realize they can be part of something too.
Of course, no character is complete without their costume, and the level of research and design that went into creating the look of the characters is simply staggering.
The costumes, and when you look at what Julie designed, have a fundamental idea at play, which is to use natural materials, or to appear like we're using natural materials, to represent the earth and the planet and the savanna itself, but also to use patterns of fabric, like the kente cloth that Zazu's costume is made of, that would be immediately African.
99% of the costumes, they start off as white fabric. So everything is dyed, or screen printed, or painted, or digitally printed, and that's an enormous job.
I take my inspiration as a costume and mask and puppet designer from everywhere. For instance, Mufasa's costume, when you look at the picture, this whole collar piece is really Balinese. This is very Maasai. The bottom is very Indonesian.
Julie spent a lot of time researching all of those sort of elements of tribal design and tribal clothing in Africa. There's a wonderful cohesive quality. All of the costumes feel like they're from the same group.